Hello, I'm your host, Alexander Wolf, and today we're going to have a very fruitful conversation with Sahara, digital marketing manager for Fancii. We're going to get into very interesting topics for e-commerce brands, small brands, and up-and-coming brands. We're going to have amazing tips, some great information for you to implement into your strategy, and I know you're going to really enjoy it, so stay tuned. So our guest today is Sahar Sicar. She's a digital marketing manager at Fancci Co, a beauty tool brand for people who live by their own beauty standards. Today, we're going to be discussing a little bit of her career, marketing, and e-commerce. And well, hi, Sahar. Thank you so much for
this. It's nice to have you. Do you want me to start with a little bit about my role at Fancii?
Maybe you can give us a little bit of backstory and tell us how you got into marketing and e-commerce, and then lead us all the way into how you are now at Fancii.
For sure. Yeah, so I started my career almost 4 years ago. So when I started marketing, I was more of design role. So it's crazy, but yeah, I feel like design and the creative aspect and marketing, they're so entwined together. So being in design, it helped me understand the creative aspect of it. So from there, I was at an agency. It was a small agency, so I had the opportunity to do learn Facebook ads, and then really the typical e-commerce route, get into Facebook ads. But as I moved and got in a more senior position at the agency, I learned all aspects of digital marketing. So I was more involved with the landing page conversion optimization, and then the email marketing. So that was my early career. From there, I moved to an in-house role. So with this company called Chase Hospitality Group. So they're a big company. So they're more of a public company. They have a lot of restaurants all over North America. So for them, it was pretty cool because they were essentially in the hospitality business. So they were more about the entertainment and restaurants. But then as the pandemic hit, as you know, all of that, their revenue source was suddenly all gone because especially in Canada, right? We were in a lockdown for so long. So what we decided was we're gonna start an e-com, a brand for them. So called Planta. So they would be selling their frozen food to consumers directly. So that was really awesome. So I played a pivotal role over there. So we started a Shopify store from scratch. We our main channel of acquisition was Facebook ads. And besides that, we already, since they're a huge brand, they had a huge email database. So email marketing was very crucial for that as well. So yeah, that was my I spent about a year and a half there. So it was pretty cool. And then I moved on to Fancii, where I'm now. So at Fancii, I started off as the senior media buyer. So I did most of their acquisition, but recently I have moved to a more managerial role where I'm taking basically handling the whole of the marketing department, because I think that is very important for even media buyers to understand, because media buying is not a silo role how it was in the past, especially with the iOS 14 update, right? You cannot just make some you can't change your campaign structure or find specific interests, or even lookalikes don't really work that well anymore. So that won't give you that great numbers, or is not a lever mover, right? So what I realized was and which the CEO understood as well, is you need to be in charge of all aspects of marketing to make media buying work. So with that, it means I started getting more control with the whole funnel, us capturing leads through Facebook, and then nurturing these leads through email, so that it's not a short term, what's the ROAS, how much did I acquire for? It's more of what's the lifetime value of these customers. And that was really crucial for us for scaling the business. So Yeah, so I think like that's very, very important. So that is me now, but at the same time I am also like, I started my own what they call marketing agency. So I partnered with two other marketers who are in the e-com space. So this is something I do on the side. So we're working with a lot of like small to medium sized D2C businesses. For them it's more of like I'm offering them the same package, because like I said, I just believe now with media buying it doesn't really work like that anymore. It has to be like a full stack marketer where you're doing handling, even if you're not doing it day to day. Like with my other clients, what I do is like I still like give them advice when it comes to like other stuff, like what their landing page should be, what this is the most important part, what their offer should be. Because like a lot of drop shipping companies like start up, but then the main thing I believe is the product is key. Your product should be different, and more than that, even if it's like something that's already out there, you should be able to find a differentiator, provide an offer that another brand isn't, which is how you're gonna get your consumers to start like liking you and then eventually like build a brand.
No, I think you hit a lot of points that I had quick questions for you though. So that's perfect. So do you think that when you began at Fancii, was it more of media buying strategy heavy? And then as time went on, you say like, no, it has to be a more holistic approach if we really want to get the best that we can. Is that more what you're seeing right now?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. So like at the beginning, we thought like, we could just like, scale like whatever creatives we're running and, everything would go smoothly. But that, especially with the iOS 14 update, it was like a disaster, because like we had ads running that were like we had campaigns that were like beautiful. We didn't even have to change them, and they were just like bringing in leads. But then what happened post iOS, what I think happened is like now Facebook doesn't get enough signals. So basically now we need to consolidate, first of all, your campaign structure. That's something I always tell like most of my clients, like you cannot have like 1,000 campaigns going. You have to, especially depending on your budget, consolidate your campaigns. And then based on that, you have to like think about your creatives. Whatever you're running, like previous to the iOS update, that was working great because Facebook knew exactly who your customers were. They had the data. You could just do lookalikes and they would go and find the exact person who would be interested in your offer. But now, like for me personally, like I've worked with other clients, even with Fancii, I noticed that lookalikes are not working as well. It's
Yeah.
more about like, yeah, we're going back to the basics where you have to do like interest targeting, where like, and to do interest targeting right, you need to understand your customer persona. You need to have a creative that's going to actually resonate with them. So that is one thing that was a huge shift, and which is why I had to become more of this role where I'm like trying to understand like the whole customer journey, where like, we need to like find out like right from the beginning, talk to our customers, find out like, why they bought our products, do like the research, see what our competitors are saying about the same product, find the areas where we can capitalize on. And then from there, you create an offer that's really compelling. For example, I know a lot of like very simple offer would be like, oh, 20% off. Like, I think that approach is like for me, like I feel like when you're like acquiring a customer who's never heard of you, like let's say never heard of Fancii, it actually like devalues your product. It's more,
Yeah.
gets you more of those discount buyers. Whereas like I think there should be like a whole funnel where you start off like just showing the product first, like at full value. And then like for us, we have been testing offers like since the beginning of this year, because especially in Black Friday, a lot of companies are gonna just do straight up discounts, but they never tested their offer. Like they could have a better offer. Like for like a lot of brands I work with, I noticed like just giving a free product, which is actually lesser than the discount you're offering, for consumers, that is more beneficial. They're like, oh wow, we want to like capitalize on that, compared to like just straight up 20% off, like the cliche.
Yeah, and more beneficial for the company as well. It's like a free product, right? Because you're getting a little taste of something else that you could purchase down the road. So altogether, it's a better strategy. Yeah,
100%.
so you would agree that I had this question, but you, like I said, you're right on the ball. So I love it. Um, Pros and cons to running sales ads without having a good organic content strategy going. If you had to put it for other companies, like e-commerce companies that are listening, like, look, these are the pros and these are the cons. If you're going to run ads, even now post the iOS update, what are the pros and cons of running a sales campaign without you already starting some sort of strategy with organic content?
Yeah, so yeah, I 100% agree. So you cannot, especially if you're like, unless you're one of those brands who are just like looking to start up and like acquire, and it's like you're at a very small budget, it could work. But then if you want to scale your business, you need to have good organic content, especially because like Facebook can find you those low-hanging fruits who are going to buy your product. But then as you scale your budget, what's going to happen is like Facebook now has the same budget, but now they have to find you 50 more customers, right? So they cannot. So in that case, it's more about like building that like very authentic, like I'm a huge believer of authentic content on Facebook. That means like not the cliche where you're just showing the product and like, like very salesy. I think what worked really well with us is like, especially because we are a beauty brand, we are running like content which is like very, very authentic, where someone is talking about like, hey, like, I break out. She's not even talking about the product yet. She's just talking about like, how like on a daily basis she like just breaks out, like, she's talking about she makes quirky lines, and then she introduces the product as like part of her routine. It's like a lot more authentic. It's like more of like a storytelling style, whereas like, like a typical formula that was working previously was like, you just show the problem and you show like, some kind of like stock videos, and then you show like that one, like it won't take you too far, like post iOS. I would say like you need to have strong like organic content,
especially if you're targeting, I think, younger generations like Gen Z. They're more used to being entertained and good content from good content creators. So I think, yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. I think it's more, you're talking more like a product placement, right? Like on a TV show, not as cheesy as when you're like watching your TV show and the camera pans to the bottle of Advil for 10 seconds. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, totally agree. Before when you're talking prior to Fancii and you were working in the hospitality group, I guess it's the transition for this question is kind of the same, but before you were into e-commerce, what was the difference once you were in it, the things that changed as a marketer that you could recommend to other marketers? Like, look, I wasn't prepared for this. These were the differences in marketing that I had to be more prepared of, things that you wish you could have been a little bit more, reading a couple more blogs, a little bit more prepared on.
Yeah. So I think like the difference between like, doing marketing for like a very established like retail brand and like a D2C brand is, number one, people don't know about you. So like that is a key differentiator, because I have so many clients who come to me and they're like, oh, we're going to do the exact same thing. Like, I've seen these very big brands like, Drunk Elephant, or like, these brands that Sephora do. And like, they have like really beautiful, like, like polished ads, which like will work for them because we all know Sephora. We all go there. There's like recognition. So the same way like my previous role, their brand had recognition. So that's an advantage. But like once you move to like do D2C marketing, I think story is key. I tell all my clients that, you as a D2C brand, make sure you have a very authentic story. Like, people love supporting like the underdogs, right? Mm-hmm. Like why I think D2C brands are scaling so fast is because, as you said, even like Gen Z, more towards Gen Z, they prefer supporting smaller like local brands compared to like large, retail companies. So leverage them. That's not a weakness. A lot of small brands want to seem like they're big, so they will be like they'll use the same language, like copywriting, as like these large brands are doing. Their advertisement will also look like very high polished and like, but don't do that. Like you should be more like basically leverage what you have. That's an advantage. talk about an authentic story, talk about how you started, you maybe it could be like for Fancii, right? We had how we started the beauty mirrors was actually some our founder actually had that issue, right? So where she couldn't see her makeup properly, and that story translates so beautifully because the audience is yeah, and I want to buy from somebody who actually felt that way as well. So I think having a an authentic story matters as a D2C brand. Secondly, you have to establish that trust, because you don't have it. You can't especially with emails, you cannot send those really beautiful promos and expect people to buy from you compared to if the same thing came from Fenty Beauty or something, right? Because people know who Fenty Beauty is, it's run by a celebrity, whereas you're a small D2C brand, people don't trust you yet. So but what you could do is build a story. With email, the best strategy is you start to engage and create a following, just like how you do on social media. You create a following, you talk daily, talk about stuff that's happening in your life. The same way a brand, a small D2C brand, can do the same strategy, and then eventually have this whole group of men, women, whoever, who are gonna support you, that is something I've noticed some brands who do this beautifully. You will see in their ad comments, these customers will come and support you. They'll be if people are bashing you in the comment section, they'll come and support you. And how do they create that? Through building that community, right? So yeah, so I think when you're more D2C, you have to first one build trust, and that you do through building community through social, organic, and email is very, very important. And then number two is the type of content you produce should also be a little different. It should have more of a storytelling aspect and look more raw and authentic compared to being very polished and looking really something you would see on Vogue or something,
Yeah, a very cheesy thing that I always say to people to kind of make it more understandable is it's the difference between you're the guy, a brand that just started, and you want to act like the big guys that have name recognition. You're the guy going up to a stranger girl in the street and asking her out on a date. Who are you? I don't even know you. Compared to building some rapport, maybe you've gone to classes with her, maybe you know friends together, and then asking them, they know about you, they know a little bit of backstory. You're not just some stranger trying to buy from me. I want you, please give me your money, So I think, yeah, it's a little outdated, but I think it hits the mark, that explanation.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Do you think that influencer marketing should be held off into a more developed, once you have your strategy a little bit more developed, or could you just jump on it early on when you're just starting out the brand?
So that's a really good question, actually. I think depends on which niche you are in, especially if you're in the beauty niche. It's very, very important to do influencer marketing right from the get-go, and I'll tell you why. So so the reason why I feel like I'm a really good fit at Fancii is because I'm the ideal customer. So I'm obsessed with beauty. I go and buy all these products, and I think as a consumer in the beauty space, or certain spaces like fashion, beauty stuff, which is more related to your vanity, people are looking at influencers every day on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, where they're seeing oh, I want to buy this beauty tool, right? What are other girls saying about it? So depending on what niche you are in, influencer marketing, if you are in the beauty space, I would say start from the get-go. I have worked with brands who did not do any Facebook ads or any kind of paid media, but they basically just made a business which actually brings in revenue by just making organic content and by having a lot of influencers talk about them. So I think influencer marketing works amazingly if you are it depends on the niche you are in. For Fancii, influencer marketing is key. But if I also worked with clients let's say who are in maybe home decor, maybe in that space, it doesn't really matter like, you know, what an influencer has to say. Yes, when you're a more established business, then you should get into influencer marketing and, you know, like maybe get into people who are doing, you know, home renovation and those kind of stuff on like TikTok and stuff. But then at at the early stage, I think people would still buy your product because it's the kind of product you just jump in. But if it's like more related to beauty and other stuff, you have to have somebody, like they have to have social proof. Like I don't know if you know Boom, like Boom by Cindy Joseph, Ezra's it's like it's basically Ezra started that company. So it's they built like a 7-figure company, and their ads is all about like other women talking about them. They go very heavy with like, you know, influencer marketing, where like, you know, you have other like women saying like, you know, Boom is really great and all that good stuff. So I think like influencer marketing, if you're in the beauty or fashion or like any kind of self-care space, you should start from the get-go.
Do you have any tips for approaching influencers? Because I feel like sometimes brands don't have that experience and it's a little difficult for them.
Yeah. So for at Fancii, like we have like figured like the secret sauce. So I would say like a tip I would give to like other business owners is, number one, if you're extremely small, I would start with like smaller influencers, like micro influencers. Don't go for the big guys, because you don't have that established like basically report rate yet, right? So start with the smaller ones. And this is amazing because like Huda Beauty, their whole business, like now they're in freaking Sephora. It started with influencer marketing, and what they started with is like micro influencers. You didn't even have to have like, you know, 40 to like 100K followers. She was like targeting like women who have like, you know, 20 to 30 or like even 10K followers. And then but it was like quantity. She went over after quantity. So what happens is like when you have a lot of people, especially when you release a new product, or if you just have a new brand, if you have a lot of people on social media talking about you, and that's how people will start like building that trust. And right now the Instagram algorithm is like, unfortunately, like I try to be very realistic with my clients. It's like very saturated. So maybe you're not going to be recognized on Instagram, but TikTok is still building up. TikTok has immense like, you know, opportunities. Like leverage influencer marketing in TikTok. Even if you're a smaller brand, you can still like acquire like these smaller influencers. There's so many girls who are just starting up and they don't even have the following yet, but they will become that, like that macro influencer you are looking for. Like we have an influencer who we started off when she was like really like small, but like now she's like in the 7 figures. So we grew together. So one thing is grow together and make sure it's like a relationship. It's not like a business transaction. Like with our influencers, we talk to them every day. We comment on their posts. We like encourage them. We send them gifts. So it's like more of a relationship and less of like a business transaction. They sometimes do things for us not because of like more of like a transaction, but they do it because, you know, they like our owner, they like our. So build a relationship. That's very key. And if you're really, really small, something that works is like send a peer package without expecting something in return. So just tell them, hey, try it out, compared to like sending them and saying like, hey, you have to show my product and say like you love it. Then that really puts off like these influencers who are already like, they have brands approaching them. They're not coming to you. You know what I mean? If they actually truly love your product, and if you have an extraordinary product that solves the problem they don't really have right now, it'll work great.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything that you like to say, anything that we need to know about Fancii? Any new products? Tell us anything that if I know somebody doesn't know what Fancii is, maybe you can give us a little intro.
Yes, sure. Okay, so Fancii, it started off as like, we started our flagship and our cult product, which you see on like Allure, like Glamour, and all these good spaces, is our beauty mirrors. So how we differentiate is like our beauty mirrors have a lighting system, which other like there's no company which has that. So our cult product is our beauty mirrors. And then from there, we are now like moving to more of like all kinds of beauty tools. So it's like anything from your skincare tools to your nail care tools. So basically any beauty tools you need to basically enhance your beauty routine, we make that. So we're not in like the more of like this, like the actual products, but the tools which will basically help your products work well.
Perfect. That's a good, thank you. That's perfect. Why don't we do like quick little tips? I ask you a question, maybe you can, off the top of your head, you can try to answer 1 or 2 tips. So what about top tracking or project management software that you have to have?
We use Asana, but you can use like Notion or any other, but like in 100% have something like Asana, because or else all your projects will be all over the place.
Yeah, we're Asana lovers too, so it's great. 3 tips to running Facebook ads.
Okay, consolidate your campaigns. That means don't just have like maybe 3 to 4 campaigns, like your top of funnel, which is acquisition, then your middle of funnel, which is like anybody who viewed or like engaged with your page, and then your bottom of funnel, which is people who went to your page. But like don't have 4 or 5 top of funnel, like you're just spreading out your signals. That's number 1. Number 2, creatives is key. Work on your creatives. And when I say creatives is key, don't just go like, I thought about this idea, let me make this into an ad. Start with consumer research. Look, if needed, call them. Like the smallest brands can call it, and that's the best data. You need to have, you're a D2C company. How are you better than a retail company? Because you can directly talk to your customers. Talk to your customers, find out what they're saying, and then make an ad which solves that problem. So creative is key. And then I would say number 3 is your offer. If you're noticing that you're getting traffic, but it's not really converting, try to give a very compelling offer and test your offers. Make sure you're like, running 2-3 different offers at the same time and see which is the best, and then go with that.
Perfect. Any marketing trend that you're dying to try?
I think the one marketing trend that I'm trying to try is like they're saying like the creatives is moving towards more of like a TikTok style, which is like less of selling and more of like fun. And we still haven't captured that Gen Z market yet. So I want to try to make those fun dancing and whatever kind of videos and see if that works for us.
That's awesome. Anything else you'd like to add before we close?
No, I would just say for like any kind of businesses that are starting up, like, well, if you are in the D2C space, try to be authentic to yourself. Try to, like, if you have very limited budget, don't spend all your money on like the small things that don't matter, like how beautiful your product page looks, or like how big of an influencer is talking about you. Work on things that will matter, like stuff like your creatives, your ads, starting to like try to make more virality, try to make content in-house. So anybody can start up. I think like it's more of like being true to being a D2C company and just like scale based on that.
Sahar, amazing. We're done. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No, it was my pleasure. All right. So we'll message you when we're ready, and we'll send it off so you can watch it and let us know how you think. But I think you were perfect. Amazing advice.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to watching it.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care. Cheers.